Questions?
So, I, in one of your previous videos, you said something along the way that everything happens in accordance with the way, even if it looks bad for you, like doesn't feel good, like earthquakes or thunderstorms. But like, how can that be? For example, if there is a person who gets bullied throughout his high school and ends up in a dead end job because of it, but sees the bully being a CEO of a multi-million company, like how can you convince that person that all this happened in accordance with the way?
Okay. First of all, you spoke of earthquakes and thunderstorms.
Yeah.
And what's your question about those?
I guess I wanted to say, like, like if something really bad were to happen to someone, how can you convince them that it happened because in accordance with the way?
Do you see how egomaniacal humans are? Do you see how humans see themselves as the center and purpose of this planet? Can you see how we look at everything through our lens? Like, oh, that's bad for me. That means it's bad, period. Those thunderstorms, the geese and the ducks and the fish love those. Why would you want to deprive them of that?
Okay.
No, I'm serious,
But
right? Earthquakes are everything that grows has to change, right? Everything it's just part of change. And what we suffer from is because we're such egomaniacs. We can only see things through our point of view, and our point of view is very very tiny and small, and it just doesn't. It's too. It's like someone saying, "Well, uh, I don't care whether this is good for Ukraine or for Japan or for Brazil. I just want to know if it's good for me." Now you can run a world that way. That's true. But if you want to understand the world, if you want to understand it, and that's what Taoists try to do, is to understand it, then you have to take more than one perspective. Are you familiar with the net of loci practice?
yeah,
All right, so
yes.
you have to do that, or nothing's going to make sense.
Okay.
Okay? Now, your next question was what?
Next question would be like,
Question.
when, yeah. So when someone contrives, aren't they doing it because of some reason? Like, thus, they are ultimately following the way, right?
When they
So,
contrive,
yeah,
tell me what contrive means to you.
contrive means to get something done or want to achieve something through force or through effort
Why don't
to
you
change their
look up
fate.
the definition real quick?
Yeah. Create or bring about by deliberate use of skill and artifice.
Artifice.
Yeah. Yes.
So using artifice, how far can you get in
Yeah.
this world? Probably pretty far. But then what happens? It comes back and it bites you. But go ahead. Now, what's the question? Contrive has a very strong connotation of artifice, of scheming, of trying to make things, just make them work. Just, if I do this, if I steal this data, if I scrape this data, maybe they won't notice, and then, I'll get the promotion, or I'll get the patent or whatever. I'll make the money, and then I'll just leave. Right? That's artifice. It's like cheating. It's contriving. Instead of doing good, honest work, people try and be clever, right?
But
And the vast,
my
vast, vast,
reasoning
vast,
is,
vast, vast, vast majority of them fail. Why not just do one's work? Do it well. I don't
but
understand.
there must be some reason that person is contriving at all, right? Like
Yeah, it's called
he is doing
stupidity. It's
things
called
clever.
stupidity.
But how how is that not following the way? Like how is that?
The way is the opposite of contrivance. The way is the natural order. Nothing out here contrives. The trees don't contrive. The birds don't contrive. The clouds don't contrive. The rivers don't contrive. The grass and everything works together in unimpeded harmony. There's no contrivance. I mean, literally everything just goes by the natural order. Every year it becomes spring. Every year it becomes fall. And then there's a dormant period we call winter. And then there's the summer, and the seeds are scattered, and then they're rained on, and then they grow, and then there's no need for contrivance.
But
Contrivance is
if
when
the
you try
person
and
is
trick people.
contriving,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, but the reason they are tricking people, isn't that a natural response because of the past they had and the conditioning they have?
I don't know what you're talking about. Give me an example.
Like like a child who was born into a really dysfunctional family,
Okay.
and this is totally hypothetical. I don't know whether this will
Okay, I
happen or
do know.
not,
I do know. I
but
spent my life with this situation. Okay. No, that's
but
learned. That's learned behavior. Let's say you grew up in a ghetto. All right. And your
okay,
father makes money by dealing dope,
yeah,
and your mother turns tricks and does dope and
yeah,
sells some a bit, and you grew up in a very hostile place. Yes, you are going to be looking around all the time. You're going to be paranoid. You're going to be hyper vigilant. You're going to be. You'll not think not twice about dealing drugs or even shooting somebody who gets in your way. Right.
yeah.
But what happens to such a person?
They have a miserable life eventually, but I don't know what happens. It depends.
Well, a lot of them end up in jail. A lot of them end up dead. A lot of them end up hopelessly addicted. Or a lot of them end up with horrible diseases that they got from needles or from sex. I mean, I'm not here to do Sunday school. I'm here to. I mean, what? I don't understand what you're saying here. You're saying that contrivance is part of the way?
No, I'm saying this. What I'm saying is this person is conditioned to
Yes, he is deeply
take in
conditioned.
contriving sense.
Let me tell you a story. When I lived in Boston, there's a beautiful river that goes across it called the Charles River. And the subway would go across the river. So you'd be on the trolley car, the subway car, and you'd go over the bridge and you could look out over the bridge. So one day, beautiful, beautiful summer day, I'll never forget it. I'm looking at the sailboats over the bridge. You know, I'm sitting on this side of the car, and on the other side there's this young black man, and I'm looking at the boats, and it's quite beautiful. And then I notice he's staring at me, and I kind of look at him, and he goes, and I go, huh? He goes, what are you looking at? I said, I was looking at the boats, man. He says, and then it gives me this kind of very, very hostile look, like, oh no, I know you were dissing me. I know you were like looking at me, and you were going to disrespect me. I mean, it's very, very clear in his language and his body language and everything else. I forget the exact parts of the dialogue, but it's like what, man? What are you talking about? But he was obviously paranoid because he was from a hostile place where one has to maintain their imaginary respect, right? And anybody looking in your direction without your permission, that's disrespectful. So he had learned those, and all of those things work perfectly in the ghetto, as well as they do, right? But they don't work above a bridge on a beautiful river with sailboats, some place that was completely hostile, alien to him. So yeah, of course, if you're raised in a hostile environment full of cheating, stealing, drug-addicted people, that's not going to be good. I don't get what's
Yeah,
the issue. Did you
yeah.
think
So
life was fair?
my
Did you think life was fair?
no, I'm not saying no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, wouldn't that lead to some person being more leaning to contriving on things? Like if they have
Absolutely, Look
been
at
brought up.
politicians. That's all they do is contrive. That's all they do is contrive. That's their whole life.
So isn't this like in accordance with the way? Like
No,
they have been
no.
brought up to this situation because of
But they weren't
no
brought up with the
control.
way. They weren't brought up with nature. They were brought up with the opposite of nature. They weren't brought up with natural goodness. They weren't brought up with uh, the value of naturalness and simplicity and non-ego and I earlier before we started I did chapters I think it's 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so look, this is chapter 8. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, and does so without contention. Higher good is like water. The good in water benefits all, and does so without contention. It rests where people dislike to be, so it is close to the way. Where it dwells becomes good ground. Profound is the good in its heart. Benevolent is the good it bestows. So we're just talking about just water, okay? It's just water as an emblem of the way. Water is good. It benefits everybody. It does so. It has no contention. It has no argument to pick with anybody. It's close to the way, and wherever it dwells, that ground becomes good. Okay, here's the part. Goodness in words is trustworthiness. Goodness in government is order. Goodness in work is ability. Goodness in action is timeliness. But only by non-contention is there nothing extreme. Okay? Trustworthiness, order, ability, timeliness, non-contention, and just the goodness as exemplified by water. Now let me ask you, how much goodness do you think was in this hypothetical man's life? How much goodness were his parents able to provide for him?
Unfortunately, not much.
No, so that's going to die out. It's not going to last. Poor kid, he's going to end up in prison. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of these very unfortunate children that we have neglected in our culture. And we will pay the price for that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how that, what it illustrates is if you grow up without the way at all, if you grow up in some hostile ghetto where everybody's on drugs and got guns, and where you have a weird culture of respect or this and that, the whole thing's going to be rotten, and it's going to produce rotten people.
And all this situation happened in the first place because some people wanted to contrive by
Well, somebody's making money
making
on
use of that.
renting those. The slumlords are still making money. Drug dealers are making money. Pornographers are making money, right? The pimps are making money. It's deranged. It proves the way by its absence.
Got it. Now I get that.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
way is not some kind of Bible study. The way is the natural
Yeah.
order. The way is not a moral stance. It simply describes the obvious. And this is why it's important for this world, because in this world, now we're going to fight each other. Okay, before, there was a fight between Christians and Muslims, or Jews and Muslims. Let's just go back, I don't know, to whatever century you want. Now it's between Muslims and Jews. Now it's between black and white, or this between Democrat and Republican, or it's between the North and the South, and it just goes on and on and on and on forever, right? Where does that get us?
Nowhere.
What
And
can
in
we
a
build? We
place
can't
where
build anything. We can't take care of ourselves. We can't take care of our children. We can't even have children because we're so deranged as a society. So the reason that Taoism becomes especially promising is that you don't have to, you can be a Taoist and be a Muslim. You can be a Taoist and be a Christian. You can be a Taoist and be a Buddhist. Because it speaks at a lower level than belief and dogma and creed. Does that make sense? All right.
yeah.
So don't the Tao is wisdom. It's not church school. It's not Sunday school.
Yeah, no, now I can see like that situation that we described, it is the result of people's contrivance
Exactly. There you go.
that
Good, good, good,
resulted
good,
that.
good. Yeah, and
So
the
it's
good. Now you
so
got
it's
it.
unfortunate for the students, but
For the
not
kids,
students,
yeah,
the
it's a
children. But
tragedy for the children. It's an absolute tragedy. It's a disgrace for the nation. And we've been doing this for a long time, and it's time we stop this. Trashing our own children because we're too ignorant or too selfish or too lazy or worse, we're exploiting them. To sell sneakers or whatever. Nothing wrong with sneakers, or nothing's wrong with gold chains, but there's better things that we could be valuing. You see? And those things are much more in accord with the natural order of things, which is another word for the will of God. Take a look. All right? Good. Okay, good. I'm glad we got that cleared up. Okay, next question.
So next question is about self-image. And so if we have a self-image of ourselves, like even if it's not accurate, if it's like slightly accurate, isn't those beliefs still helpful? Isn't that self-image still helpful? Like, for example, if I were to apply for NBA now, I know I will most probably fail.
If you're going to apply for what? Apply for what?
NBA, the basketball league.
Oh, NBA?
Yeah. I know that I will fail with high probability. So isn't this self-image saving me from doing something?
Okay, so is there a pragmatic or practical value in having a self-image?
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yes.
See, I think what you call a self-image is mostly somebody else's image of you. See, I don't particularly have a self anymore unless I need one, but everyone has an image for me. They imagine they know who I am and what I am, what I'm good at, what I'm not, what I'm likely to do in a given situation, what matters to me and what doesn't. And they just project the image onto me, just like they project the image onto you, right?
Yeah.
So your self-image has nothing to do with this. Their image of what a basketball player looks like is that he's at least 6'2", right? He's black.
Yeah.
He's got an athletic body. And so it has nothing to do with your self-image. It has to do with the image that they've got in their minds to project onto you, right? So you could be, just by virtue of being Indian, people could, you come to the United States, people think you're smart.
Yeah.
Because, there's so many CEOs are Indian. What does that have to do with your self-image? Nothing. So this image of self and the image of self that's created by others, that needs to be teased out. Right? But I'm not worried about you applying to the NBA and getting your feelings hurt. I'm really not. I think they'll take care of it for you. So don't be worried about that. But just consider the fact that how much of your image is based on what other people think. And then find out how much is based. Okay, what is self other than memory?
Yeah. At least self-image. It's past experiences.
So it's just memory.
It could also include various other years of experience of my ancestors as well.
That's memory. That's memory.
Yeah,
so you've got memory, and then you've got fantasies of the future. That's the whole self.
Yeah.
But your memory, how good do you think your memory is? Tell me what you were doing June 12th, 7 years ago. You have no idea.
Right now. No.
So memory is very, very selective. So we get to choose our past. And some people choose all the bad things that happen, and some people choose all the good things that happen. And some people choose a mixture of both. But it's your choice. Or better yet, just erase personal history and just be here now. Be here now. Nothing's going to fall apart. Just be with what's ever in front of you.
So one question, you said that it's his choice whether to choose good or bad thing, but
Yeah,
is that
it's never
really
too
a
late for a
choice for
better
him?
it's never too late for a better past. All you have to do is reinterpret. There were things when I was growing up I was thinking, "Oh my god, I can't believe why am I stuck here on this desolate, farm in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do and there's nobody to play with, there's just a bunch of lizards and horny toads and crows and horses and cows and bulls and birds. I'm bored." And then at night there would be nothing. There'd just be pure stars. No lights, just stars. And then not too far away there was just ocean. And so there was this quiet and this nature and this peace that comes from that. But I didn't appreciate it then. At least not as I remember it. I felt bored. I mean, some of the things I did, the stars and things like that. But now I look back and I think, good God, what I would give for my children or my grandchildren to have anything close to that. To have the peace of being so close to the ground, so close to nature, so close to the stars and to the ocean and to the wind and the little animalitos. Priceless. So I rewrote my history, and now I've got the best history of all. And you can do the same thing with your own thing. It's never too late for a better past. All you have to do is reinterpret it.
Got it. Yeah.
But better still is just to drop the whole thing and erase personal history and just get off of yourself and start thinking, well, wait a minute, where am I? Who am I? What am I? And what was I put here on the earth to do? Because if you don't answer that question, you've wasted your life. And you suffer too. As a matter of fact, that's probably why you suffer, is because you're not doing what you're meant to do. If you're doing what you're meant to do, people who know what they're meant to do not suffer because of petty things. They suffer because of their art, because of their work, because of their engineering, because of their management. But it's not even suffering. It's just another challenge. Warriors don't judge things good or bad. Like Rumi said, there's a field beyond good and bad. Meet me there. And the warriors take it a step further and say, if it's a challenge, then it's for me. Because with every one of those challenges, I get stronger. I get wiser, I get stronger. And that's what life is about. So maybe stop judging and start embracing all the wonderful challenges you face. Okay. I'm sorry, you want to go back you want to follow up on that?
No.
So okay, but going back just to self, just remember how much of yourself is, number one, just memory, which can be erased or rewritten, or two, just what you imagine other people's opinions are. But frankly, most people don't care. I mean, your parents do. Your siblings might, your aunt and your grandparents might, but the rest of the people, they don't care. You're not as important in their minds as you imagine. Especially, and as you get older, it gets more and more true. So people live in this fantasy land where they're the center of the whole world. And in a way, they are the center of the observable universe. That's how we define it. But they do it in a silly way that just makes them weaker. All right?
Yep.
Next question.
Yeah. So this question is about searching for real self, or trying to search for it. So I split it up into two parts. I feel like one is the part that can influence things, and another is the part that can sense things. Like I still believe that I can exert some control, that I have free will, yet it's really difficult from my first person perspective to prove that.
What you just described. Okay. Oh, so now we're on part
Yeah,
3.
sorry.
Okay, keep
Yeah,
going.
no,
Let's
no.
get to the question. Keep going.
Yeah, like, and the second part is like the sensing part, and it feels like it's inward facing. Like it can only sense things. It can sense pain, pleasure, emotion, or a beautiful scenery or anything. And that is something that
It can
I
sense.
can,
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah,
It,
it
it can
can
it can
sense it.
it can sense food.
Yeah,
It can sense temperature. Now,
yeah.
did you ever look into the free energy principle and the Markov blanket?
I did look into Markov blanket, but not
Oh,
much into
good, good.
free
Because you
energy
just described
principle.
a Markov blanket, which is really cool. Okay, so let's look at these things. And how many of these are true of a single-celled bacterium or a single-celled water organism? Let's say a paramecium.
Okay, for permecium, again, we are seeing it from a third person perspective, right? So
Very
from
good, very
third
good.
person
But let's just say,
perspective,
can the paramecium influence its environment?
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
because
It's got cilia, right?
yeah,
And can it sense its environment?
I guess so. Because how
Yeah, of course it can
else
because it
it
has to
decided
eat.
on?
It has to eat and it has to avoid enemies. All right. So what you're describing is true of everything from a single-celled organism up. All right. So this is nothing unique. So you just described very nicely, by the way, a single cell and yourself. All right. Now what's the question?
So my question is, after like listening to a few of the lectures about non-duality and all, it feels like most of them say that we don't control as such anything, or at least a conditioned mind doesn't have free will as such. Like, how can a real self decide on something at all? Like, choose something?
Okay. How can a real self decide on anything at all and do something? Is that the
Or,
question?
yeah, or
Okay.
choose between
All right.
alternatives?
Good, good, good. All right. I'll answer that. Just tell me what a real self is, and we'll get right to it.
I I don't know.
Well,
That's the thing.
okay, so how
I
can I answer the question if you don't know what a real self is? And you're asking me what it can and can't do. We're just talking nonsense.
yeah. So, like from what I have observed is like at least real self can, it can sense things or it can feel things.
Good.
Otherwise, how would I know that I felt something?
But a liver cell can do the same
But
thing. Are you going to say liver cells have real cells? Paramecium, bacteria, E. coli can do the same thing.
maybe they do. There is
Yeah, yeah,
hierarchy
they
of
do.
these
Yeah,
things.
no, not maybe. They do this. Otherwise, how could they function? So
Yeah.
do they have a real self?
From what I'm getting it is like it feels like there are a bunch of cells, yet when combined or like when in combined,
Into a
it's
tissue?
like
Into a tissue or
yeah,
into an
it's
animal?
like into a tissue,
Okay.
for example,
Good,
and
good, good.
it's like they are greater than some of its constituent parts, and that
Beautiful,
extra
gorgeous,
greater
gorgeous,
thing,
gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Yeah. That's how they know to take the shape of a liver, or how to take the shape of a heart, or how to take the shape of an eardrum, right? They have to be obeying some higher master. They have to have a goal and a purpose. Otherwise, they just keep. So, let's say someone has half their liver cut out. Why wouldn't the liver just keep growing and fill up the whole peritoneum? Why does it stop?
because there is some intelligence that interacts with other
Absolutely,
body
intelligence.
parts.
Yes, all intelligence is collective. That's just something for you to think about. I believe it. I've experienced it, but I want you to think about this statement. All intelligence is collective. All intelligence is collective. I think that's the paradigm for our new century.
Is this what real self that I feel is? I don't know. Like sometimes I feel like, yeah, I have some neurons in my brain. Yeah, certainly. But my real self is like after combining all these neurons, there is something greater than just a network of neurons.
You
And
think?
that,
Not only that, I mean, I don't know if they taught you this in school yet or not, but neurons, we in my century, we all thought that they connected with synapses. You know, you have the cell body, and then you have an axon, and then it connects to another cell over here through the axon, right? Does that ring a bell? It turns out that that's only one way to communicate. They communicate directly, contiguously also. And that the axon is just a specialized way of transmitting information for longer distances. But most of the communication occurs cell to cell, locally. And that the
so
ion
literally
gaps,
they can
just real
communicate
briefly, the
with.
ion gaps and the ion channels between the cells, those are communication centers. So it's a revolution in that.
Nice.
Very, very, very exciting. Many, many, many different implications. So, but where is the self? Where is the self of a liver
Like you
cell?
said, that there is no way to know that. Like physically, we know there are cells, but there is something greater than when you add all these things together.
What's
So,
greater than a liver cell? Work with me.
what's greater than a liver cell?
To what does the liver cell bow down?
Like,
To the liver.
to
Okay.
yeah,
But to what
as
does the
a
liver bow down?
to my body,
Right. And then what does your body bow down to?
to my society, to my culture,
Okay,
to
well,
my
good luck with
family.
that one, because your society, I don't know how much it cares about you. I don't know how much it's
Yeah,
watching out for your welfare. I don't know how
yeah.
wise it is. Now, I'm not speaking about India. I'm speaking about the United States of America. I'm not so sure our social uh, collective brain is functioning very well. I think it's been contaminated with things like money and power and kind of man-made things, right? And so be careful what you worship and what you bow down to. I'm not sure I could do that in good conscience. But can you see how if all intelligence is collective and that intelligence is serving a purpose from the smallest little paramecium to the largest cell in your body, to the brain cells in your brain, to the retinal cells in your eye, it's all serving a function, a purpose. Now that's the way. I mean, that's a facet of the way. And so in our bodies, so it is for the entire planet. And all the green things we see here, and all the flying things, and the crawling things, and the swimming things, and all the things of heaven and earth, all obey these laws. The law
So,
that of interdependent origination. All intelligence is collective. Do I have
so
an
this
idea in
also
my head that didn't come
implies.
from somebody else? Or some mixture of it? Does an LLM have an idea by itself, or does it just mixing it all together?
It's at least what I'm doing, mixing all together.
All right, what about you?
Yeah, maybe I am mixing, but I don't
Maybe?
know.
Maybe?
Yeah, like that's like defining what creativity is. I I don't know what it is.
Excellent. You don't. That's true. None of us do. And that's why in this book and in the I Ching and in any other thoughtful book, the creative is equated with the divine because it is so mysterious. We have no idea what was here before heaven and earth, what was here before being and non-being. And we can make up stories. We can make up, the creation myth. We can make up a God who took what was there and then made it into something. But they always have to put something was there already, unless they understand that consciousness and the creative are one and the same. But we're getting too deep right now. So follow up?
Yeah. Not to the influencing part, but the sensing part.
Sensing. Okay. Sensing.
So I had this. So how can a real self sense itself? Like, for it to sense itself, that itself needs to send some signal out of it, right? Otherwise, how it can sense itself at all if
Well,
that.
how can a real self sense itself? Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's a great question, but the problem is I need you to define what the real self is.
That's like again what we discussed earlier. Like it can sense everything else, yet it can't sense itself, or can it? I don't know.
Well, you need to find out. But let's do that. Let's for now, hold up your hand and say, "This is myself." Let's just say that. Can you sense it?
This is myself.
Can you sense it?
I can sense my hand, yeah.
Okay. So you can sense something, and it's your body. You can call it yourself, but that's not going to do it for you. You want to know your real self, right? Because we could take off your hand, God forbid, right? And you'd still have yourself.
Yeah.
So so name a part of the body that you could chop off and lose yourself.
I was thinking about that sometimes. Like even if I chop off my heart, I may be alive for certain few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I chop off my brain? Or
what if you chop off your head?
I don't know what part of. Yeah, but
so which part is you? So which part is you? The body or the head?
Only the executed guy will know. Or
only what?
I don't know. Only the guy who is facing, whose head got beheaded will know.
Right? I think typically we in all cultures they identify the head as the most essential part. I was watching that Japanese series. What is it called? Shogun.
Shogun.
And they always put the basket in the head. They don't put the foot in the head. I guess sometimes they put fingers in the basket and send it, but it's usually the head. Okay, but that still doesn't get us to the real self. Now that can get us to an idea or of self, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. So what we need to do is we need to get you to your real self. Once you can tell me what your real self is, I can answer all these questions. Or you can answer them too. All right? Next question?
Yeah, so
go ahead.
I have another question, like what it means to sense. What is sensing at all, and why is thought considered a form of sensing, especially in Buddhist culture, Buddhism?
What would you call it? Do you have a better idea, a better word for
it? Thought would be something that it feels.
I'm going to give you a thought, right? And you're going to hear it with your ears first, but then you're going to hear it in your mind. And then I want you to tell me what happens. Do you sense it? Purple people eater. Got it?
Okay.
Now, how were you able to observe that in your mind?
I tried imagining a purple person. Oh no, some separate person eating a purple person.
But how did you observe? That's good. I never thought about it as somebody who eats purple people. But okay, a purple people eater. All right. So that's interesting. But okay. So let's do it this way. A yellow ball bouncing down a dirt alley. Okay? No, that's too visual. Lightning hitting a piece of paper and lighting it on fire. That's a thought, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not speaking it right now, but so we have a purple people eater, we have a lightning striking a piece of paper, and we have a yellow ball bouncing down a dirt alley. How do you observe those thoughts? What word would you use for being able to have those thoughts?
It's non-verbal. It's like an interrupt signal saying observe, or like saying.
Okay, so what's the difference between the word observe and sense? What's the difference between the word observe and sense?
For me, it would be sensing something. First of all, you can only sense something that's not you, like something separate from you.
Whoa! That's fascinating. Whoa! You can only sense something that's not you. Correct?
That.
All right. Well, let's make a list of things that are not you, or we'll make the opposite list: things that are you. No, that's good. You can only sense things that are not you. Perfect. So the thought was not you.
By that definition.
Go ahead.
But by that definition, I can never sense myself at all, because if there is no separation between my true self, then how can I sense myself?
Someday you're going to know, and you're going to be so happy when you realize what you really are, and what sensing yourself, your true self, really means. It's not at all what you imagine. It's not at all this tiny little thing that you imagine in your skull somewhere. You're literally all that is. You're this beautiful blue sky and these beautiful birds and these trees. You're everything that is.
So either that means that you can sense yourself, so you can sense things that are not separate from you.
What is separate from you? Name something that's separate from you.
The nerve pinches, because I can feel it.
The what?
Nerve pinches. Nerves separate.
Nerves pinching.
Yeah, because I can feel the pain when nerves pinch.
You're saying that's not you?
Yeah, it's just like saying,
is it somebody else's?
Me.
What?
It's not certain somebody else's, but it's definitely not me. Like the exercise that
so we have nerve pinches in your back. What else do we have? That's not you.
Hand.
The hand's not you?
It's part of me, yes, but it's not me.
We're trying to understand what you mean by sensing, and you're saying you can't sense things that are you. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying you can only sense things that are separate from.
Okay, good. So what's separate? So this nerve pinch is not separate from you. Your hand is not separate from you. Name something that's separate from you. This is a good one.
But they are separate from me. But they are separate from me, right? Because I can.
You're saying your hand is separate from you. You're saying your hand is separate from you.
Yeah, from my true self. Yeah, because I can sense my hand. Right?
Your true self? What's this true self you're talking about?
I don't know.
Is this voice separate? Is my voice separate from you?
Yeah.
Oh, really? How?
Because I can hear it. I can hear it.
You can hear your own thoughts too. You can feel the nerve pain too. Why are you saying this? The sound of this voice, these words going through your brain, are not you? Why are you saying that?
At least it seems like.
We don't care about what seems like. We don't care what seems like. We're looking for truth here, not tricks. We're trying to understand something. So what is it that you can truly sense? You're confusing me.
because myself confused. But I would say if some things are separate, if two entities can behave independent of each other,
Oh, really?
like
Which
you
two
and me.
entities? Which two entities?
Like you brought this up, right? Like you and me, we are we like we can like do things independent of each other, right? So doesn't that, although there will always be certain, like
Entanglements?
going back to net of Indra, there
Yes.
will always be some influence between us, but
Can you do anything in this universe that doesn't affect everything else?
no,
Okay,
that's
so
not possible.
if you move in India, it's not immediately
Yeah,
obvious, but it is going to have an effect in the United States.
yeah, somewhere or
Remember
another,
when
yes,
the
definitely.
butterfly effect was a big deal? So how are you postulating this separateness? And how does it exist in this universe, this separateness that you're talking about?
I don't know, maybe I can then bring up
So
the Markov blankets.
perhaps, but let's follow them all the way, right? Follow that principle all the way. So here's some very good things for you to contemplate. You're maintaining that
Okay.
there is separateness in this universe, and you're doing it. Yeah, and I want you to use all the tools you've got: logic, reason, scientific understanding, meditation, contemplation. Read anything you want, but prove to me. It shouldn't be hard. Prove to me that separateness exists in this universe. Okay? That's not too much to ask, is
Got
it?
it.
All right, while you do
I
everything else.
don't know
And
now.
this is the kind of question you should be preoccupied with at your age. These are very important questions to answer. So don't fall for the media thing where you know what you're meant to do is look at Instagram and read Reddit and porn and you know just scroll on X and rot your brain. Don't buy into that. They want you to be their slave. They want you to just buy their stuff and make them rich and make you poor. They don't care about you. Don't let them enslave you. So guard your mind. Okay? No, I'm serious.
Yeah,
But because you're going to need to do it in order to think clearly about this. So the next time we talk, I want you to give me an example of
yeah,
separateness in this universe. Anywhere.
got it.
All right? Anything else before we stop, sir?
Yes. No,
All right.
no,
Keep the faith. You're going to need it.
yes.
Guard your mind. And fill it with something worth thinking about. Like, is there separateness in this universe? That's the kind of thing a grown man thinks about, in my opinion. He doesn't think about how many points he had on the last Super Mario, you know, tournament. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
All right, good.
yes.
Ciao, ciao. Good. Take care. Keep the faith, guard your mind.